Hello everyone, this is Praveen and I'm a DevOps engineer and a DevOps enthusiast. I have been working on various configuration management tools that includes Chef, Puppet, Ansible and a lot of other cloud frameworks such as AWS, CloudStack and OpenStack. In this session, we are going to start setting up Ansible and how are we going to use Ansible in a cloud infrastructure environment using AWS. So let's start discussing of Ansible and let's start configuring Ansible in an AWS environment. We can eventually replace AWS environment with a normal traditional infrastructure environment as well. But since there's a cloud hub which is happening these days, so it's always good to start working on the cloud environment. So let's start. Before we start working on Ansible, these are the essential packages required as listed in the slides. The first one is we are going to use Amazon AWS servers. We are going to launch 3 to 4 nodes which are of t1.micro configuration. T1.micro is a free, and we are going to use RHEL or CentOS version 7, which we will going to deploy Ansible on top of it, and we are going to download Ansible package from it, and we are going to use multi-tab putty. So these are the main and the important packages which are required for working on Ansible, and we are going to do on step by step. So before we proceed further, so let's start deploying an AWS cloud having a 3 to 4 EC2 servers. So let's start deploying 3 to 4 EC2 engines, and we're going to use those in our Ansible cores. Once we deploy, we are going to set up an SSH key, keyless authentication, and facilitate during the communication of the whole course. So let's start AWS Management Console. If you guys are not aware of AWS, please make sure to read through AWS courses via Edureka. So let's go with AWS Management Console, which I have the account set up already. Let's stick with an management console, and I'm just logging into an console as of now. This is the requirement we are doing now. So we are setting up an AWS cloud having 3 EC2 servers or 4 EC2 servers, and we're going to deploy Ansible on top of them, and make sure that we exchange keys to facilitate during the communications course. So I have an account, and I'm going to log into that account to make sure that I have a free tier given by AWS. Yeah, so this is a region. You can select any of the regions you want to start on with the services of AWS. So I'm going to select Asia Pacific Mumbai location. So I'm going to go to EC2 virtual service in the cloud and start creating 3 virtual machines, and that virtual machines are going to use in our daily Ansible course, and we are going to see how Ansible is going to function for those 3 machines. So I'm going to launch an instance. We require 3 instances, so we're going to use Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7.2, because that's a free tier eligible machine, and that's easy for us to set up Ansible and continue further. So we're going to go select the machine. We're going to go select t2.micro. I specify t1.micro in the slide, but that is in an older modules where AWS give us free. These days we are getting t2.micro machines, which is having 1 vCPU, 1 GB RAM, and instant storage. Yes. So let's start. As I was discussing earlier, we are going to set up an AWS cloud having a 3 EC2 servers. We are going to deploy 3 servers in an AWS engine, and we are going to use Ansible cores for that. Once we deploy the Ansible um, software, we are going to create and use exchange the SSH keys and facilitate the communication during our course. So first and foremost, we need to have an Amazon cloud engine, and the Amazon cloud engine is already been open. I'm going to do it from first again. I'm going to sign out. Make sure you have the AWS engine set up. From your end, create the account, which is free of cost for 1 year. Amazon is going to give AWS free of cost for almost a year. and start utilizing its services. The moment you log into AWS Management Console, the first thing which we need to notice is like which location are we using to launch the three machines. We have almost 8 plus regions. One is at US East, West, US West, couple of regions, two regions in Europe, and almost like five regions in Asia Pacific, and one region in South America. You can select any of the regions you want and use the services of AWS. I'm going to select Asia Pacific now, as I discussed some time back, and I'm going to launch three virtual servers in the cloud. So click on EC2. EC2 here refers to Elastic Compute Cloud. Compute Cloud is something which is actually a node in Amazon Web Services. So um, this is a dashboard of EC2 where we can see there are no running instances and there is no dedicated host launched. We don't have any volumes, we don't have any key pairs, we don't have any placement groups, elastic IPs, snapshots, or anything configured. So we're going to use this AWS in Mumbai location for launching three virtual machines. You can see the service health of the data center in Asia Pacific, which is operating normally, and availability zone is having AP South 1A is always available. One South 1B is always available. Usually, these two availability regions are in the form of cluster. So, if one availability region goes down, the other availability region is going to assist in case of disaster recovery. So, as discussed in Ansible requirements, let me start an instance and let me launch an instance, and we're gonna use Red Hat 7. We can use Amazon Linux virtual machine, but since it has only limited privileges, we can use Red Hat, which is easily acceptable, and we can download a lot of packages for Red Hat. We can also use SUSE, Ubuntu, any kind of infrastructure operating system, but let's stick on with Red Hat, and which is a free tier eligible, which is a general purpose utilization machine. This has a root device type EBS. It has a virtualization type of HVM. HVM is an hypervisor which Amazon uses at the backend. And if you want to use OpenStack, then the virtualization type will be KVM. If you are using a Citrix, then the virtualization type will be XVM. Remember, this Red Hat machine is a 64-bit machine, and I'm going to launch three machines using this image. The moment I type launching a machine, I can eventually choose what generation. I can choose all generations or I can choose current generation. Let me choose a recent generation, and you can see which is the stuff I currently selected. It's T2 Micro, which is having a variable ECUs. It is having one vCPU. It is having 2.5 gigahertz of frequency, and the machine will be launched on Intel Xeon family, and it has 1 GB of RAM and elastic block storage only. So the network performance will be no low to moderate, and it's a normal network performance which we usually put it in for launching the machine. So let's start and configure the instance. So here we have an option called number of instances. As discussed in the slide, we are going to set up 3 or 4 EC2 machines. So let's deploy 4 servers, so it'll be easy for us to differentiate and start working on Ansible and check out how Ansible functions for this. So I'm going to use 4 machines, and I'll use a default network which gives by Amazon. I'm gonna use default subnet which gives by Amazon, because I'm not launching any kind of virtual private cloud in Amazon. I'm gonna use Amazon network to test the functionality of Ansible and launch 4 machines. Um, Auto assign of public IP. Yes, I can assign a public IP automatically. That we are going to show it later once the machines are launched. So we are not bothered about IAM roles as of now. We are not bothered about shutdown behavior. We will not work on protect against accidental termination, because this course requires only 4 virtual machines, and that will be testing purpose itself. So this is not into production, so we can better not to take this. And we do not require any kind of monitoring enabled for these four machines. So because it requires additional charges, and we are using it for testing purpose, so we are not going to enable this as well. We can use tenancy if you want to use a dedicated host. So what does dedicated means? These four machines will be given a dedicated hardware to run our Ansible. So this is a kind of requirement where a corporate environment needs, but for this course we does not require a dedicated or an dedicated instance. So let's stick with a shared instance. So the shared instance will be run on any availability zones, as I discussed in the last tab, where we are having availability regions in Mumbai South A and the Mumbai South B. If I am putting dedicated, it is gonna put me one location with a dedicated hardware, but if I'm putting shared, it is gonna put me on both the locations wherever the available resources, and it's gonna put in the number of four instances fluctuating between these regions. We have something called advanced settings. In advanced settings, you can just put in your script, which is gonna um, prompt when the machine comes up. So maybe like a date, and or any kind of scripts which you want to run during a starting of the machine of the engine. So as of now we are not bothered about that, so we are not going to put any kind of scripts at the advanced details. Next, once we are clarified what we are going to launch, so we want four machines, one network, one subnet by default by Amazon, and auto assign of what I public IP, we are going to do that later. So let it be a default use subnetting enable. We are not bothered about IAM as of now. We are not bothered about shutdown behavior, and let's go for the next step called add storage. All the four virtual machines will be having a 10 gig of storage, and it should be having a device dev SDA1, and which will be having a root volume type called root. By default, all the four virtual machines will be having a snapshot created, and we can select any kind three kinds of storage device. One is magnetic has a lot of hardware components, and it's very slow in nature. We can select general purpose SSD, which is a solid state drive. It's very fast, the instance is going to respond to us very fastly, and we are going to select that by default. We can actually use provisioned IOPS. So for this kind of storage type, where you require a performance of high-end input and output, we can select provision IOPS. But as of now, we don't want provision IOPS. We're going to stick on with general purpose SSD. In general purpose SSD, we have seen that the baseline is 100 input output per second for 1 GB data transaction. But if you go with IOPS, provision IOPS, you can see there is 300 data transmission of input output per 1 GB. So we are not bothered about a performance as of now, because we are just launching four machines and not a huge infrastructure. So let's stick with general purpose SSD, and not to stick with magnetic, because magnetic it involves a lot of hardware components and the performance will be degraded for the machine. If you want any extra storage on all the four machines, just add a new volume, just put on the EBS is an elastic block storage. You can put on the device name whichever you want, and um, you can select any snapshot, but as of now we require not snapshot. And you can select the size, maybe like 20 GB or 5 GB, and select the storage type you want. And you can see, apart from the root device, the storage type, volume type is going to change differentiately. We can see the throughput optimized HDD added, cold HDD added. So these are the extra two options given by Amazon if you want to use elastic block storage. So we are not concerned about this now. So we want only four machines with 10 GB gig as a root device. We can get eligible device up to 30 gig. If it's like more than 30 gig, it is going to charge us for chargeable for us. So let's stick with 30 gig, which Amazon provides as a free charge. So let's tag the instance. So we can tag the instance like nodes, and configure a security group. Let's create a security group. That security group will be like my secure group, my secure group. this security group will be having rules which is set up. One is SSH by default. I can SSH to any machines using port 22. I can use ICMP if I want to ping any kind of machines from anywhere. If I want to use HTTP port 80, then if I want to use HTTPS, then we can select that as well. So once it's selected, let's go review and launch. So this tab is to review about whatever configuration settings we have did so far. So one is a Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7.2 as discussed, which is having an SSD volume, a type, and Amazon Cloud. Um, Another one is a T2 of .micro instance type. It's a variable ECUs, 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM, EBS storage, low to moderate network performance. The third tab is a security group. We can see what are the rules which we have added in security group. Is like we have SSH by default, which is using the port 22 to connect to all the machines. We are having all ICMP. We are having HTTP and HTTPS protocols as well. We're going to see instance details. We require 4 instances to test our Ansible software on it and to work on a lab machine, which is, we have installed it on a particular default network given by Amazon, and we are not preference any subnet as of now. These are the rules which we give sometime back in launching a machine. We are using a storage of 10. Sorry, we should give 30. We should give 10. I did a back. Okay, let me do it from first. So we are launching 4 machine, and we are launching a shared instance, going to add storage. We need to give 10 gig because 30 gig is a huge storage and it's not required for us as of now. Next, tagging instance, we are going to give nodes, configure a security group, and we are going to create a security group called my secure group, and we are going to add roles. The roles are HTTP. The roles are ICMP for pinging purposes to check the ping happening perfectly or not. And we're going to select source from anywhere. Instead of, you can give a predefined custom IP, but let's take anywhere in order to avoid problems in future. And let's select HTTPS protocol as well. In kind of Apache web server, if you want to use HTTPS, then it's good. So we are reviewing this, and we came to know that the size is 10 GB as of now. A tag, we are given nodes. So let's launch 4 machines now. The important thing is choosing a key pair. Let's create a new key pair, and let's me give the key pair name. So my nodes is the key pair name. I'm going to download the key pair, and it's going to download in my home directory. Let's launch the instances. So we'll see the launch log and see is the launching machine is completed. Let's go click on this, check out the instances. So I can see only 1 machine is getting launched. We require 4 machines, isn't it? Let me see if it's going launching 4 machines, or else we need to launch 3 more machines. I think number of nodes I gave only one instance. Okay, so let me launch another 3 more instances, because I forgot to give 4. Here 1 was there. I need to give 3, and let have 10 GB storage. Configure nodes, tag nodes. Next, configure security group. We already have a security group, so this one is a security group. We can see the protocols added for that. We're going to select the same, launch. Then we're gonna review it properly, make sure that we are having 3 machines, and launch. We're going to use the same key pair. So I select choose existing key pair, I acknowledge, launch the instance. So view launch log. Yeah, launch installation is complete. I'm going to go select, see 3 machines are getting launched in AP South 1A 1A. Availability zone, you can see the first machine was launched in 1B, the other 3 machines are launched in 1A. This shows a shared tendency between those machines. So we have deployed three servers or four servers that will be used in our Ansible course. Once deployed, we are going to create and exchange the user and deploy the SSH keys to facilitate communication during our course. So once the machines are launched, we're going to use those machines, create a user, deploy the SSH keys connection between them. So let's see, the machines are getting launched, and you can see here the status checks is still initializing. It should show 2 cross 2 to make sure that everything is running fine. I'm going to change the name of the nodes. One will be master, that's Ansible master node, and the other one will be node 1, node 2, node 3. This is to benefit our Ansible course, and it's gonna helpful the way we understand things, the way Ansible checks out things, and it's very much useful. So let the status checks be 2 cross 2. By that time, let's assign an elastic IP for these machines. We can see here public IP is already assigned, which we can connect this IP externally from internet, but we can see elastic IP is here not assigned. The major difference between the public IP and the elastic IPs is that the public IP is dynamic in nature. The moment we reboot node 3, the public IP will be changed when the reboot has been completed and the new machine is launched. So every reboot, every shutdown and startup of the machine, the public IPs are going to change for node 3, even for node 2, even for node 1, and even for master. In order to fix the public IPs, in order to make sure that the public IPs are consistent and static, so we need to assign an elastic IP. How do we assign an elastic IP? So understand here, so the only thing we are not going to stick on with public IP is that every reboot or every shutdown and start of the nodes which we are having in Amazon, the public IPs are going to change. We don't want the public IPs to change every now and then when the machine is rebooted. So we're going to stick a new concept called elastic IP. So as it explains here, the elastic IP addresses are associated with the instance, and once we have an elastic IP associated to the instance, irrespective of number of reboots, irrespective of number of machines which are going to get it down or which are going to get it back up, the IPs of public is not going to change. How do we assign an elastic IP? It's very simple. We can see, if you just go left and see the network security tab, you can see there's a new concept called elastic IP. Click on the elastic IP, allocate 4 addresses. Yes, we need to allocate 4 IP addresses. Allocate another one, allocate another one, allocate another one. So the reason why we are doing this, because the public IP is going to change for every frequent reboots of the machine. We don't want that to change, so we're going to assign an elastic IP address for those engines or for those nodes or the instances, so that the IPs are going to fix and it's going to benefit us for in our Ansible course, because we don't want the IPs change frequently happen. So let's use this IP and associate with the machines which we are having or the instances which we are having. Let's associate with master, and we're going to tick on reassociation. If you're not using this reassociation tab, then we are going to create elastic IPs newly every time. So let's stick with new reassociation and we're going to click associate. Now we can see that one elastic IP is associated to one instance which is having a private IP address. So if I just go to instances and instances tab and click on master, you can see public IP and the elastic IP has the same IP. Even if I reboot the master IP now, the public IP will be same and static. It is not going to change. But in case of node 1, it is going to change because we haven't allocated an elastic IP as of now. So let's go to elastic IPs tab under network and security. Click on the other IP, elastic IP, remaining IP, associate the address. Associate the address to a node 1 now. Associate it. Use the same thing and associate to other nodes. Associate address to node 2. Associate the address to node 3 as well. Now we are used elastic IP for each and every nodes which we are, or instances which we are running, and each instances will have an internal private IP address and external public IP address which we are going to use in our environment. So let's go to instances, check whether the reflection has been taken place. The master node, you can see the reflection has happened. Elastic IP and public IP is same. The same thing will node 1. It's having the IP elastic IP. It's having the public and elastic IP. It's having the elastic and the public IP, which is same. And each node will have a public IP address which we are going to connect it externally from internet, and it will have an internal private address which we are having connecting internally. This is an internal private IP which machines will be having, and this is the public IP which we can connect to the instance externally. So we deployed 3 machines, and we create we need to now create and exchange the user and SSH keys to have the facilitate and communication. So how do we do that? We have just created the machines. We have make sure that the IPs are constant and it's not going to fluctuate when we reboot happens. Now we're going to make sure that each machine, each instance, like master, node 1, node 2, node 3, are going to communicate each other, and it should have a proper inter-process communications happening, whether it's externally or whether it's internally. So let's go with the master server. Remember, this is the Ansible master server. Let's connect it. The moment we connect, we have a SSH example. Just copy the example. We're going to copy this. Open my putty. So this is my putty. This is my base machine. This is my base machine, and I need to go to the key which I saved. So remember the key mynodes.pem which we downloaded some time back here. That is downloaded as a key to launch into this machine. So I need to go into that key. It's into my home directory. So let me grab the key. Yeah, I have the key in my home directory. So this is my nodes. This is my key available as of now. We are going to change the permission chmod 400 my nodes. So once we change the permission, make sure that paste the we are connecting to the master server. Now we are going to connect here, copy the example and connect to the master server. So we are using EC2 hyphen user to connect and switch to the root. You can observe here I have connected using a public IP 52.66.72.51, and internally you can see the IP is 172.31.18.171. This is a private IP, this is a public IP. Private IP is internally to the server, and public IP is externally, which we can connect to the machine as well. So once we have connected to the master, the same thing we are going to do with connecting to the node as well. So let's open a new tab. This is my new tab, and I'm going to go to my downloads, which we are having a key. My nodes.pam. I'm going to connect the node 1. Use the node 1 key, paste, try connecting, and we can connect using EC2-user and switch to root. The same process I need to do for node 2 and node 3. I go to node 2, I go to connect, and I go to use the same key, and I'm going to paste this. So I'm going to connect to node 2. Switch to root, keep it ready. Make sure that each machine have external IP and internal IP. The next node remaining is node 4. So the next node is node 4 or node 3, sorry. One is master, and node 1, node 2, node 3. Use this, sorry. Use this and connect using a new tab. Let it connect. And yeah, we are into three servers. Clear it off. We are into master server, so I'm going to mark this as master master node 1, node 2, node 3. So we have given the names at the top, and for each machines, what are we going to try to do now is we are going to create a user called test. User add test. Put the password, arbitrary password. I'm going test here and clear it off. And even node 1, add the user test. This is to facilitate for us to communicate properly and to use Ansible properly. Even in node 2, you can use user add test password test. This node 3 test password test test test. Okay, we have created the accounts, and once we have created the account, what we are going to do now is we need to make sure the password authentication and the permit root login is enabled for root before we switch to test user. So we need to go to cd etc cd sshd cd ssh in master server, and we're gonna edit sshd underscore config, edit it, and then we have password authentication. Search the password authentication, password authentication. Yeah, we have this password authentication. Enable it and enable permit root login, so that we do not require any key, and my nodes.pm key always to connect to this and Amazon machines. The same thing you need to do it in other machines. So vietc etc sshd underscore config. Sorry, the file is different. cd etc cd sshd, sorry, ssh, sorry. And we're going to use sshd underscore config, and do the same thing as we did in master server. Remove the authentication, permit root login as well. Follow it carefully, because this is what is required to set up Ansible at the first time. The same thing has been done here. etc etc, sorry, it's etc, it's not vi. cd etc cd ssh, it's ssh vi sshd underscore config password and permit root login. Yes, I'm going to search permit root login and saved it. And we're going to use sshd hyphen underscore config, and use a password authentication. Yes, yes. And same thing here with the permit root login. Permit, yeah. Yes, we got this. Save. The moment we did that, you can now check. I am just going to log out from master and try to connect using test. Without a my node .pem key. Remember the last time when I connected, I used something called -i mynodes.pem. Since we did all those steps as of now, we don't want to use mynodes.pem, which is given by Amazon to connect to these machines. So I can just use -test at my public IP or the public DNS. So the other thing which I missed is I need to refresh the services before I try this. Let me try it back and systemctl restart SSHD. This is required to make sure that I must not use this mynodes.pem key for the every time which I log in. So restart in all the machines. Okay, it's done. So once I restart, just log out and try to log in without mynodes.pem. So ssh test at, I can use this public DNS whole DNS name, or I can go to my Amazon instance here, go to master, I can copy the IP, public IP or elastic IP, which is same. I'm going to paste it and I can use the same way with same password. It is going to log in into test account. So same thing can be done here. Just log out. We try to connect to the machine without using mynodes.pem, which is given by Ansible all the time, because that's a kind of drawback which we want to remove when we connect to that machine. So I'm just did some changes at the backend in sshd underscore config file, so that it should not ask the key every time which I log in. So this time you can see that every time I can just directly log in without any kind of hyphen I stuff which I did earlier using. I'm just logging in via test. I do, I don't use mynodes.pem hyphen I option, so I just use test at the fully qualified domain name and put in the password which I created. So it's going to log into that machine. Yeah. So I can log into every machine using the test account. But whether this is sufficient for me to connect to other machines from master to the nodes, node 1, node 2, and node 3, this is not sufficient. So we need to generate the key and share the key across all the nodes and make sure its communication is happening good without asking for the password. As of now, you can just see if I use test at the IP of this machine, which is 172.31.18.172, paste it. It is going to ask me secure key and it's going to ask me password, which I don't want this to happen, because Ansible works on SSH keyless authentication. It should not ask password every time when I log into other machine from master. So this is the master machine and this are the other three other nodes, and it should have an interprocess SSH communication without asking the password. So how does this happen? We need to share the key and copy the keys across all the three machines individually. Before that, let's give some root privileges for test user, because when I use a sudo hyphen root, it does not give me a root privilege. So this is insane. This is not good. So what we're going to do is log out on the machine and connect using EC2 machine, EC2 user, and give the test user root privileges. So you can just vi etc sudo urs and go to the bottom and type test all equal to all. It should not ask password if I want to switch to root. So copy this line, so it can be, we need to put this same line on every other machine. So log out, connect it back using EC2 user, because EC2 user is having a sudo to root privilege where test user does not have. We are giving sudo to root privileges for test user. Okay, save it and do the same thing here as well. Vi etc sudo ers and just paste it here. Yes, I'm doing the same thing a little bit fast because we can just grab the same information on all the other nodes. So it's already in root. We are just going to vi sudo ers and just go and type and paste it. Yeah. Now you can see that when I log in into a test user in a master, I can switch to root and the same I'm in root now. The same functionality appears for all the machines. Now we are going to work only on test user accounts. We are not going to bother about roots. So let's switch to test in all the machines. Switch to test. So this is what is required, and this is what is required to have a efficient connectivity between the machines. Yeah, switch to test. The most important thing which I want to note down is like I need to note down master servers credential, public IP and the private IP. So I have a notepad which gonna give me master server. This is a configuration part. So public um, so public IP is something which we can get it in um AWS console. So just copy the public IP. Even we can get the private IP as well. Public, paste it, private. You can get it from here. So this is the private IP. Paste it. So node 1 public private, node 2 public private, node 3 public private. So once we are finalized with that, let's copy the same stuff now. So node 1 public is this one. Copy node 1 public. Node 1 private will be this from AWS console. Node 2 public is, copy the node 2 public IP address, private IP address as well. The same is applicable for node 3. Just copy and save it because it is required for us when we try running Ansible playbooks, Ansible roles, or Ansible hosts, which is going to benefit for us in ECD rather than just um, grabbing it from if config every time. Remember one thing, we can actually replace this private IPs from domain private IPs from host names or host name or domain names. So but let's fix with IPs because it's easy for us to identify, and this can be public IPs can be replaced with fully qualified domain names, which is here from the AWS console. Just you can just copy the public DNS and paste it. We can use this and that, so whichever is fine is good. So let's have stick with this and let's go to the prompt. We need to make sure it does not ask for password, and it should have an SSH protocol enabled, passwordless authentication enabled between all the machines irrespective of um, the key. It should be having a keyless authentication. So if I just type test at my another node 2 private node. Remember, since we are working internally, so we need to use private networks. If we are working externally from internet, want to connect to the node, then we can use public network. Since we are working internally, that means I am using my internal IP to connect to the other machine, which is internal in nature. So it's something which is doing internally from machine to machine at the back end. But if you want to connect to the machine from internet, global internet to the machine, then we can use public IPs using test at 52, 66, 71, 88 test stat. But here as well we can do it internally. I need to make sure it should have communication internally done to have Ansible one run safe and good, and get appropriate results because it uses SSH protocol. So I copy the node 1 private IP, paste it here. It asks for the password. It shouldn't ask for the password. So we need to generate a key and share it across various machines. Even the same thing it asks for the password for node 2 as well. just copy this and try from master to connect to the node 2. Oops, it is having a double colon, and try yes. And it asks for the password. It shouldn't ask for the password, so we need to have a keyless based authentication from master to node 1, node 2, node 3, from node 1 to master, node 2 and node 3, from node 2 to master, node 1 and node 3, from node 3 to master, node 1 and node 2. So for that, we need to switch to test user and check whether I'm in test. Yes, I'm a test user. Check the present working directory. Yes, I have the present working directory. SSH hyphen keygen. It is going to generate the key, and that key can be used as a passwordless authentication key. So generate the same thing in all the machines. SSH hyphen keygen. Generate the key and save it in the home directory. SSH hyphen keygen. Yep. SSH hyphen keygen. Remember, these are the machines which are being launched in Amazon Cloud. If you want to just check whether it's launched in Amazon Cloud, just type username hyphen a. You can see it's launched in AP.South 1 in Mumbai region, and we are using these machines as our templates or machines which we can test our Ansible um, technology, our orchestration tool. The first tab is a master tab, and it has having an IP of 172. Once now we have generated the key, we need to make sure the keys are shared across the other machines to have a keyless based authentication or the passwordless authentication. How can we do that? We can just use ssh hyphen copy hyphen id command and give the IPs of other machines. It's going to copy the key and paste it in the other machine. It's going to ask password for the first time, and we can just try to ssh now with that particular IP. Test at this. Now it's not asking for the password. Earlier it used to ask for the password. The same thing I need to do on all the machines. Just keep on following. So I'm going to take another private IP of node 2 and type ssh hyphen copy hyphen id and paste it. First time it's going to ask for password. Just put the password and do the same thing for node 3 as well. Copy it, ssh hyphen key hyphen gen. Sorry, it's ssh hyphen copy hyphen id. Paste it, and it's going to ask password for the first time. Just paste it. Now you can just connect to all the other nodes without any password, and this is a critical part in Ansible because Ansible works SSH and requires passwordless authentication. I'm going to do the same thing here in the other machine. So ssh hyphen copy hyphen id and copy the master private. Oops, it's not selecting properly, so I'm going to select it properly, copy it and paste it. It's going to ask password for the first time. Remember, everything we are doing with the test user. So node 1 is, we are already in node 1, we are not going to do that for same thing. Copy the node 2, ssh hyphen copy hyphen id and paste it. See whether it's asking for the password. Yes, it's not asking for the password. Logout. And do the same thing for node 3 as well. Copy hyphen id, paste it. It's asking for the password. Done. So now second node number 1 is done. We're going to go with node number 2. ssh hyphen copy hyphen id at this machine, which is oops, we need to just remove that add. Yes, this is critical part. Once the environment is set properly, we can make sure that everything will be run smooth from Ansible in order to avoid hitches at the later stages. Okay, then we are going to do with master. Test. Okay, so we are done with node 2 now, so we're going to go with node 3 and do the same thing. So we have already copied master's key. That hyphen copy hyphen id, paste the IP. So let's take test. I'm going to use a node 1 now. ssh hyphen copy hyphen id. I know it's going to work passwordless, so I'm not testing in each and every nodes. Just put in the password. Perfect. I'm going to use node 2 now to make sure that each node can connect to each other node without any password. Okay, done. So we are done, and each node can connect to each other node without any password using test user account. Simple thing is just let me do a random check. You test at master. Take master from node 1, node 2. So from node 2 to master. It does not ask password. I'm easily into node 2 with test account. Perfect. Now we have completed this step of deploying 3 to 4 virtual machines termed as elastic cloud compute machines that will be used to deploy Ansible, and that will be used to learn Ansible from our end and create the exchange of the users and SSH keys to facilitate the communication during the course. Once we have done with setting up of Ansible cloud, the next topic is we need to download and install Ansible. So before that, let's stick on with the requirements. So we have used Amazon AWS servers. We have used 3 to 4 nodes of t1.micro configuration. Sorry, it's t2.micro because t1.micro is from older Amazon services which they used to give free. Nowadays they are giving t2.micro as free. Then we have used Red Hat 7 in our virtual machines. You can just confirm that here in machines here. You name -a cat etc release. Okay, cat etc Red Hat release. Yeah, it's Red Hat Enterprise Linux Server 7.2, and the same thing has been done here. Cat etc Red Hat release. Cat etc Red Hat release. So the same machine has been deployed, and each machine is communication each other without any password. SSH test at, maybe I can just take an sample example again to make sure that it's again still working properly. I can just take node 3 machine, copy it, and paste it yes. um, I think it's gonna ask for password. It should not ask for password. Yeah, this is what we need to fix it. SSH test. I'm connecting to the same machine with the same IP. That's the reason. So we need to connect to different machine. So I'll use 170 because I use the same machine to connect to the same server. So that's bad. So I can use the, sorry, I'll use node 1 or node 1. I can see test SSH test at paste. Yeah, it's not asking for password. Okay, so I can just try with other machine. Try with other machine. Yes, it's perfectly working fine. So need not worry. If you're trying to connect the same account with the same machine, it's going to ask for password, which is actually not required because we are using communication from master to node 1, node 2, node 3, node 1 to master, node 2 and node 3, node 2 to master, node 1 and node 3 to rest all the machines. So this is what we have done, and we have implemented an SSH connectivity between those machines, which is not going to ask password. And this setup is required to install an Ansible and configure the Ansible at the first phase. So we are done with part 1, installation of AWS services and making sure that they are connecting without a password, and it's going to communicate interprocessly for all the machines or all the nodes from master to nodes which we have created. Okay, so we deployed 3 to 4 virtual machines in an AWS cloud where we can see we have named them as a master, and we have named the client as node 1, node 2, node 3. We have tested the interconnectivity between these 3 machines using test account, and we have already verified that yes, it's not going to ask password irrespective of what connectivity we use between these machines. So we can see that's not going to ask password, and it's having interconnectivity using SSH protocol of all the machines, from master to node 1, node 2, node 3, from node 1 to master, node 2, node 3, and vice versa. So now this lecture is gonna start with deploying and installation of Ansible, and how we are going to use Ansible to deploy on all those three machines, on all on Ansible master node. So uh, before deploying, let's go stick on with the Ansible website, which showcase different products available from Ansible. So Ansible releases two products. One is Ansible Tower. Ansible Tower comes with a graphical user interface as seen in the website, and it's not free of cost. It has a chargeable, and its pricing is been based on the number of nodes. Just click on Ansible Tower pricing. We can see the pricing of Ansible is between the based on number of nodes. If you want to use Ansible for 100 nodes, it's a dollar 5,000 per year. If you want to use Ansible for 250 nodes or more than 100 nodes, depending on the support and the premium. So Ansible Tower has been commercially sold across the commercial companies, but we can use Ansible as a open source product which is available free of cost from Fedora website as well. So we are going to use Ansible for provisioning. We are going to use Ansible for configuration management in our future lectures. We are going to use for app deployment, continuous delivery, orchestration, and security compliance. So these are the main things which each configuration management tool are going to get used of. Because of its efficient architecture, Ansible heads an upfront number one position compared to all other tools. It is just SSH, and it does not have daemons and processes running at the back end. So we are having the virtual machine setup already done by Amazon console. We tested it with the test ID. Now we're going to install Ansible. Before installing Ansible on all the nodes, we need to make sure that we have appropriate repositories created. So I have noted down the repository of Ansible which comes from this Fedora project. We are not going to download it from ansible.com, because ansible.com releases only commercial product. In order to get the open source product, the Fedora release has been taken place. So just we need to go to Fedora project here, get that release, and make sure you install the Ansible. But before that, we need to have EPEL release installed on the machine, of all on the machine, on all master and node machine. So what is EPEL? This EPEL is extra package repositories for Red Hat 7. So this Red Hat 7 acts as a package repository, and we make sure we get all kind of packages from that EPEL. If you just type sudo yum repo list, we can see it's not connecting to the load balancer. So probably we can sudo yum repo list. Let me see whether we have a repositories created or not. Cd etcm dot repos dot d, and we can see a Red Hat repo which is created. We are not going to use this Red Hat repo because we are going to create another repository where we get all kind of packages. So let's start getting created the repositories. But before that, we need to install wget. Let's check we have a wget installed or not. We don't have wget installed, so we're going to install wget CDS balancer. So I think it's having some problem with connecting the load balancer at the back end. So what we can do now is okay, we want to reboot this machine to make sure that it connects to the AWS CDS balances. Once it's come up, then you can use repositories for this. So let's see whether it's pingable. It's unknown host, ping, and we're going to give this, yeah, it's showing unknown host. So let me verify again. dl.federalproject.org. Yes, it's pingable. So we will create a repository for this using it wget. So how do we create a repository? Before that, let's restart the machine because we are unable to connect to certain kind of repositories which by default existed. So dot repo. Okay, we were gonna restart instances, terminate instances, reboot. We're going to reboot each and every instance to make sure that it connects to the repositories, because it's not able to connect to CDN repositories from Red Hat, from load balancer. I can just reboot the machines. So this should have a connectivity lost. Yes, that's right. Now every machine is getting connection lost. So let's wait until the machine comes back up. And we need to create a repository to make sure that we get a appropriate Ansible packages in picture. So far we have installed 3 to 4 EC2 cloud virtual machines on an Amazon cloud. We had make sure that all those 3 to 4 machines are SSH compatibility, and they are not going to ask password using the user accounts test. So using test accounts, we can log into any each other server from master to all the nodes, or from node to all the other nodes and the master as well. So SSH connectivity has been tested in my previous class. So for now, we are going to start with the download and installation of Ansible. For download and installation of Ansible, we are going to concentrate on connecting to a Fedora project first, because the Ansible website does not give us the free source tool to download the Ansible from the internet. In fact, the Ansible website, which is going to show here, um, is showing the tower, which is a commercially acclaimed product sold by Ansible for various commercial companies. You can see the Ansible can be integrated with various EC2 machines, and I'm doing the same as well. We are going to integrate this Ansible to Amazon cloud, and we're going to test Ansible in this network as well. So as I told earlier, we can see how the pricing has been done in Ansible. So we can just go to the products, we can check the tower pricing of Ansible. Remember, this is a commercial tool, and we are not going to use this for our lab environment now. We're going to use self-support. There are three kinds of categories which Ansible gives for the commercial companies. One is self-support, which can manage up to 100 nodes, 250 nodes, and 500 premium nodes. For enterprise companies, they give 24 cross 7 phone support and web support for premium members as well. So this commercial tool, we're going to not use it because it's going to chargeable for us. So we are going to download a free Ansible tool from Fedora project. So you can just download Ansible Fedora project. So we actually get all the files from the Fedora project, preferably from a link which I have here. This is the link, RPM package. So we are gonna get everything from Fedora project. For that, we need to install an EPEL. EPEL is something, an extra package release for Red Hat. So we're gonna get this wget, and we're going to install the EPEL release in order to get Ansible. So what I'm going to do now is go to each machine and install EPEL as a base package. We can just go to etc yum.repos.d, and you can see the repository is available. There is no repository available as of now, the EPEL repository in node 3. What I'm going to do now is, like, I'm going to use wget and get the repository. Since wget is not installed, I'm going to install wget. Yeah, we are first installing wget in a node 3, and we're going to pull out the package and create the repository. Remember, now we don't have a EPEL extra package repository. If you configure extra package repository, then we by default we can get the Ansible package. So I'm going to use wget, and just, yeah, now we are getting permission denied because we are in etc repository which is owned by root. So we need to go to our home directory, test, and use wget. Yes, I got this package, an RPM file. I'm going to install that package. We can just run the command which is shown here, rpm space hyphen ivh and EPEL relay 7.7.no rpm. So we're going to paste this And for installation we require sudo privileges, so sudo yum rpm hyphen ivh. So we install this. Now you just go to etc yum dot repos dot d, and you can see the EPEL repo has been there. Yeah, we can see the repository is configured in node 3 machine. But when I just go check on other machines, I have been done, it's a pre-work already. I can just go to etc yum.repos.d. I can see EPEL configured on each and every machine some time back. So as is true, as if you are testing in your machine, you need to configure EPEL using the two steps, like downloading this package wget, downloading this wget package. I'm going to highlight this, downloading the wget package, which is rpm file, and installing using rpm-h on all the other machines, and we can get configure EPEL repository here. So you can just go to etc yum.repos.d, and you can see EPEL has been configured. EPEL.repos.repo.d. Okay, once we have configured with EPEL repositories, we need to update yum. So what we need to do is like sudo, since we are in the root, I'm going to switch to test, sudo yum update. We're going to update each and every machine using yum update, sudo yum update. Each and every machine, including master, node 1, node 2, and node 3, as I discussed in the previous classes. So it's going to update everything, and it's going to tell if there are packages marked to update. It's going to tell yes, there is an update available. You can see in this machine there is 118 packages should be updated in node 3. So I'm going to update everything, and other machines we are not bothered as of now, because they have the packages updated till date. So this machine, it's just checking, and it's gonna update all the packages before we try to install the Ansible. Let it install. It's going to take a few seconds for installation. Once its installation is completed, let's stick on to install Ansible. So once it's installed, once we install all the packages in this machine, the next step is to install Ansible. That node 3 gets installed its packages, we're going to install Ansible on all the other nodes as of now. So the command to install Ansible is sudo yum install Ansible -y. So it's going to force install the Ansible, and it's going to check for the dependencies availability. So once the Ansible is installed, just clear it and make sure you install each and every machine. Sudo Ansible, sorry, sudo yum install Ansible, yum install Ansible -y. So you need to install in each and every machine. Yeah, I need to put Ansible name, sudo yum install Ansible -y. Yeah, for this machine as well, sudo yum install Ansible -y. So once you install the Ansible package, it is going to install by default the Python dependencies. We can see the Python dependencies has been installed. This proves that Ansible uses Python modules to install the packages. Python modules to install the packages. So to verify whether the Ansible is installed or not, we can just type the command Ansible --- version, which is going to show us like Ansible, which is a latest of 2.1.0 has been installed, and we have a configuration file in Ansible called etc ansible ansible.cfg. The same thing we're going to check it in this machine as well. Once it's completed installation, let it complete in the node 1. We'll check in node 2. I hope, yeah, in node 2 we have already Ansible installed. Just use the command ansible -version. So you can see 2.1.0 is installed, and in node 3 as well, Ansible -version. So we're going to check the installation in each and every machine to make sure that Ansible has been installed appropriately and successfully. Okay, the command version is spelling wrong, so I'm going to put version. Yeah, we can see that each and every machine is having 2.1.0.0 installation availability. So once we have installed the Ansible, we need to make sure that the configuration file exists on all the machines. Yes, as per the command Ansible hyphen version, we can see the configuration file exists on all kind of machines. So here we are using 3 machines or 4 machines of EC2 servers, and we have installed the Ansible on all the machines. And this Ansible is having a configuration file in each machine, so that is in path etc Ansible. And we can see that configuration file exists in more.ansible.cfg. And if you just go through the configuration file, and there is a lot of stuff which shows. So one is with inventory, which is showing etc Ansible host. This is the file where we are going to mention all our infrastructure nodes, node 1, node 2, node 3, and we are going to group it in terms of in terms of the categories. This is the libraries where we have, then we have a remote temp group, and we have a local temporary folder. It's gonna poll 15 seconds if there's a command function for Ansible. It is gonna check whether we need to use a root privilege or ask for a sudo privilege. And it's a lot of stuff happening in Ansible configuration file. And as we progress further in the class, we are going to discuss of each and every configuration which is mentioned in this file, um, and to demonstrate very well how the Ansible is going to function good. If you want to turn the logging on to see what is happening at the back end, so we can just go to ansible.cfg file, go to logging, search for logging. And if logging is off, so we're going to remove this, and we can log each and everything from here. Since I am unable to edit because I'm a test user, I'm going to use sudo vi ansible.cfg. Then I'm going to go to log. I'm going to remove this hash to make sure that what is happening at the back end, and we can see the log paths. So there we are now installed 3 virtual machines, and now we are installed Ansible on all the machines. And we are going to test the SSH connectivity between machines. So to check the version, Ansible hyphen version, we're going to give us the output. Yeah, this log file is not writable and we cannot create it. So what we can do is we need to make sure this log file is writable. So chmod 777, just give this path. Okay, this RPM I have installed earlier, so I'm going to copy that var log mark writable to make sure that it's writable using test directory. No such file directory. We can create the file for that. Touch sudo touch. Yeah, so change the permissions now. RPM is not required. We can need to remove this RPM file. Change the permissions and just type ansible hyphen version. Yeah, we're gonna get this, and we're gonna get the log file created as well. You can just go to this log file, just type more on that log file, and there's nothing in it, available as of now because we are not doing anything. Just we have installed the Ansible. So that's it for the module number 2. The module number 2 consists of 2 classes. One is installation of AWS cloud and installing 3 virtual machines. We are discussing about configuring Ansible for today's lecture. Earlier in the previous 2 lectures, we have discussed about introduction to Ansible, and the previous lecture we discussed about how we're going to use Ansible, and how did we install Ansible on master and client nodes. We are also discussed how to use Amazon Web Services as an engine to demonstrate our Ansible lecture. So in the previous classes, we have launched 3 to 4 virtual machines, one being a master and the rest being the nodes being slaves. So we have installed Ansible on all the machines. We have demonstrated the SSH passwordless authentication between all those machines using the test accounts. So after which, now we have come to the concept of configuring the Ansible on master nodes. So we are going to configure Ansible in my master nodes here. We are going to go through step by step and how it is being configured, and what are the steps that should be taken. So the first and foremost step to configure Ansible is the configuration file, the Ansible configuration file. The Ansible configuration file is actually existed in etc and Ansible directory. You can see ansible.cfg is a configuration file. Let's go through this configuration file step by step. I can just type more and read the configuration file one by one. Just go through more ansible.cfg. We can see that nearly all parameters can be overridden in this Ansible file or a configuration file of the playbook. So the default files which is given by Ansible is etc Ansible hosts. That is the inventory file. We are going to discuss about inventory file, which is critical in Ansible courseware. We have libraries, which is in path of usr share my modules. We have a remote temperature where we are sorry, it's a remote temporary directory where we are having all temporary files of Ansible. It's a hidden file. We have local temporary directory. We have folks, which is going to tell us how much the Ansible should fork if there's no response from the client. And we have a poll interval. It's gonna check every 15 seconds for the input and the output from each the client and the master nodes. We are having a sudo user to mention that, okay, if you want to use a sudo privilege, then we can just configure sudo underscore user in this configuration file. And nearly it can be overridden using a command line interface. You can ask for the sudo password every time if you want to use Ansible command. That can be tagged as true or false according to the requirement. The transport module is smart, and the remote protocol, it uses only SSH 22 port protocol, and the module is set is true. If you just go deep inside the further of the configuration file, there are a lot of stuffs where we can just use it according to the requirement. If you want to use roles factor, then we can use Ansible roles path, which is hashed as of now. If you want to use host check, always if you want to connect to SSH and if you want to check if the host is available or not, we can use host key checking false. And there are a lot of options which it's an advanced module which we are not using as of now. um, this will be used as and when we progress into our class, and this is the main configuration file. It's always good to take a backup of this configuration file and keep it for safer side. So we are going to take the backup of this. We're going to use sudo copy ansible.cfg ansible.cfg.original. We're going to take the backup of this file in order to proceed further. This is an important configuration file, and it's going to work everywhere if you want to use this in terms of Ansible. So it's always good to take a backup of the file. The next lecture which we are going to discuss now is Ansible Python dependencies. So usually we know that Ansible has been dependent on Python, and it requires Python privileges to make sure that the Ansible functions very well. In order to test the Python which is involved in Ansible, we're going to test whether we have appropriate installed packages in all the machines. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use clear the screen in master, then use sudo yum list installed and grep with Python. This will give me all the Python packages, and all the Python packages which is gonna tell me whether I have a Python installed or not. Yes, we have the Python installed. We can see it's installed on 7.2. So we're gonna verify whether we have Python installed and on all the other machine as well. So you can just use yum installed. It's sudo yum installed because we are using as a test user. Sudo yum installed grep with Python, and blessed. Okay, so sudo yum list install. That is the problem, the first command. So we are going to use list installed and type Python. To make sure that all the Python packages are installed, it's going to take some time. So we're going to try in third node sudo yum list installed grep with Python. Yeah, we can see Python is installed in node 2 as well. We're going to see Python installed in node 1 as well. We're going to see Python installed in the node 3 as well. If it's not installed, we should install it because Ansible completely depends on Python, and we can see that Ansible is already installed in previous lecture, where we can just verify using Ansible hyphen hyphen version, and we have a configuration file called ansible.cfg. So once we are installed the Python, we need to test whether Python is able to run. So how do we check the Python version? So we can just type Python, and we can come to know it's 2.7.5. We need to make sure that Python is same across all the machines. Yes, 2.7.5, Python 2.7.5, Python 2.7.5. So in order, let's quit this. So we're going to use command quit to make sure that we are quitting out of this um, Python interpreter, clearing the screen of all the nodes. So make sure that we are in the right path when we demonstrate the Ansible properly. Oops, yeah, quit, clear it. So let's write a simple Python program to make sure that it's gonna function fine. So we're gonna do vi hello world program of Python, and we're gonna type the Python properly. Like, we are gonna use the hello world program of Python. Yes, we are gonna put a header. Yours are bin Python, and hello world Python program, print hello world. So I want to save this, and we're going to run as a Python module. Okay, I think we need to use sudo in order to save the file here, because it's in etc Ansible. So we're going to go to test, and um, we're going to use hello Python, paste it, save it, run the program. So it is showing some syntax error. I'm going to just remove the syntax. It should throw the output of print hello world. Yeah, the Python program is a little bit wrong. We need to fix that hello world program, hello world Python program. So let me just check in Google hello world to just to function that whether the Python is working as expected. So just go to interactive Python tool. We can just see any code for Python to make sure that we are using proper command for this. User bin Python. I'm gonna see goodbye world. Let's see if it's gonna function or not. Yeah, so if you want to use only, you can use just py, I believe. So you can just py should work if you put up the shortcuts. Python is working fine in master node, and it should work fine in the test nodes as well. Just let me test in one node where we can see whether Python is working fine or not. Vi hello.py. We're gonna put usr bin Python hello world. I'm just print, and we're gonna put hello world Python hello world. Oops, it's Python, it's not Python. So we can see it's working fine as expected. So we verify that the Python is working as expected in nodes as well. So that's a critical part. If Python is not working, then Ansible is no way to work in future. So check the Python items installed as well, and write a short program to make sure that everything is working as expected. Now, and after that, we are going to now discuss about something called overriding the default system ansible.cfg lecture. So um, if there's a requirement to make sure that yes, we are not going to use we should not use the default system ansible.cfg configuration file, we can override it and put our ansible configuration file. How does we do that? So um, in order to override, let us just verify where the ansible .cfg file exists. So we know that it is in at etc ansible, and we can see ansible.cfg exists. So usually whenever the ansible runs, it is going to take this file. Some cases where we don't want the ansible to take this file, you want to take your own file, customized file, and you don't want ansible to take this default file. In the such a cases, we need to override this file. How do we do that? Before doing that, let's check whether the path has been set by ansible is at appropriate location. So if you just use a command set grep with ansible, um, set um, yeah, so you can see the present working directory of ansible is etc ansible. If you change this particular path and give different particular path, then we can easily tell that whenever the ansible runs in the next time, it is not going to check etc ansible path, it is going to check the predefined path set by you. So how do we set that? We can easily set using the command called export ansible underscore config equal to slash home slash test slash uh, config slash my ansible.cfg. When you do this, the moment you do this, you can just set grep hyphen I ansible. You can see the normal file is been overrid with our own configuration file. So the next time an ansible tries to run this file, it's gonna take our file rather than it's gonna rely on this particular file. So this one is critical, and overriding of this configuration file we can do. And this, if you just go to this particular path, we don't have the file as of now. So sorry, we don't have the particular file, so we can just copy this particular file. We just need to copy this particular file, and we can see there's no first file or directory. What we are going to do now is like we know the original file is available here. Just copy this file, uh, ansible.cfg.original. Copy this file into that location, in my home directory location. um, so there's no file as of now, so we are going to touch that file. Cannot touch, we need to use sudo touch. Yeah, so touch no such file or directory. What we can do is we can just go to that particular path, and we are into the touch directory, and we can create one directory, mkdir config. Go inside the config directory, and we can create one file called myansible.cfg. So we have created the file, we have that file in the particular location, but we don't have the default parameters. What we can do is like we can etc copy the original file there, copy hyphen r, copy this ansible original file in that location, in this particular location. copy the original file, then modify as and when required. This is the original file. You can modify and make sure the Ansible uses your own file next time it is going to run. So this is the way you override. So you can just verify the override using set pipeline grep and grep hyphen I Ansible. So if you want to remove this override, then what we can do is export Ansible. Let's just check the Ansible underscore config in the other machine to make sure that what is the default path available. Set grep hyphen I Ansible underscore config. So I think it is not there. I mean, it's not reflecting unless and until we set it. So what we can do is set Ansible underscore config, set Ansible underscore config to /etc /ansible /ansible.cfg. So the moment you do that, you can see the Ansible is been set, and we can see in etc Ansible, you can see the Ansible config file, and the next time it's going to read ansible.cfg file. This is how you override ansible.cfg file. So this is why this is important. The overriding of configuration file is important due for application developers or testers when they want to create their own customized file and they don't want to use Ansible provided configuration file. They can override the default Ansible configuration file depending on the requirements. We can also override roles path. How do you override roles path? It's very simple. We can just go to ansible.original, copy this file and make it roles modified, rename it roles dot modified. So we need to use sudo for this because we don't have privileges for directly running as root. Okay, once we did this, we can just go to roles modified file. Yeah, the roles modified file. Okay, just check whether we have the file or not. No such file or directory. Yeah, we have the file, but we need to we do a vi. So we go to this thing, do a vi, and just go to roles path. We can see the roles path is default etc Ansible roles. If you want to put override your roles path, just tab and type roles underscore path space equal space etc Ansible. Instead of that, we can give your home directory /home /test roles. So we can actually modify roles using this kind of setup in Ansible configuration. I don't want to do this now. It's just to make sure it's happening. It can be done and used by the application team whenever they require it. So once we are finished with overriding default system Ansible configuration file and roles path, the main important thing is the host file. Host file are really much important to make sure that we have a inventory management. The host file is actually good, and it need to know how to use this host file if you want to be maintain an infrastructure of 1,000 nodes or 10,000 nodes. If the infrastructure is very huge, the host file is very critical. So what we're going to do now is we need to make sure the host file um, configure appropriately in order to test whether the Ansible is doing good or not. So what we can do now is before running the host files, I think we are sure with what the how to override a roles path, how to override Ansible.cfg path, and we have just worked on Python dependencies and learned of some of the terms in Ansible configuration file. So now the host file is a critical one, and it should be need to make sure that we are taking a backup of it. if you just not sure of what are the important configuration file, then you need to make sure that at least host file is a critical one, because it contains all the inventories and all the host stuff. So once I've taken the original backup, I'm going to just vi to host file. So before viing the host file, I'm going to run this simple Ansible command, Ansible um, Ansible all hyphen list hyphen hosts. This command is going to show me if there is any host available in etc Ansible host file. Since there is no host, it's going to show me 0. I'm going to add few hosts under etc Ansible host. The hosts are nothing but the nodes. The hosts are nothing but the nodes. Here we are having a 3 nodes and one master setup. So we are sure that okay, this is a little simple setup, but in a complex environment where there are 100 to 500 nodes and there are 1000 nodes, then it should be very feasible for us to manage in a host configuration file. It's always good to take up a backup. So as I showed you earlier, if you just run this command, we are not going to get any host. So I'm going to add some host in my machine. So I'm going to just sudo vi host. If I just do this is a sample file which it's given by Ansible installation file. I'm going to delete all those files. I'm going to delete all these lines to make sure I have my own host file, because I've already taken the backup. Okay, so I'm going to put local. I'm going to group hosts using the square brackets, and I'm going to put local because I am going to add my own local machine, which is a master machine, and term it as local host. I'm going to name Apache Web, and I'm going to put 2 IPs under that. So one of the IP is node 1 IP. So I'm going to go grab the IP, node 1 IP, private IP. Make sure when you are working internally, we are going to use private IP, and I'm going to put another node 2 private IP in Apache Web. So understand the groupism here. First one is a local host, which is a local machine. Apache Web is a group which are web servers to be installed in future. I'm grouping in that, and I'm gonna use another one is app server. This is my application server. I'm gonna add node 3 private IP in it. Remember the reason why we did passwordless SSH and authentication earlier, because the moment we add into the host, the master server tries to communicate to all the other nodes, recursively, to make sure that there is no password problem happened. So that's why we made passwordless authentication at the beginning itself. So now if you just type Ansible hall space hyphen hosts, just type, you can see there are 4 hosts. One is a local host and other 3 machines are the nodes. Earlier it wasn't there. So this proves us that we are added machines into Ansible configuration. The more the environment grows, the more infrastructure grows, the more the host file is going to add up. So this is what is stuff. And okay, so we are in the host file. There are cases where the application team will tell, hey, I don't want to use etc Ansible host file, I want to use my own host file. How do you override this host file? As I told earlier, we have overridden roles, we have overridden configuration using export, but how do you override the host file? So what we can do is, I'm going to go to my home directory. Remember, there is no host file now. There is no host file now, but original host file is etc Ansible hosts. The original host file is that, because that is the default host, ls-l etc Ansible host. Sorry, we have a space here. Oops. So etc Ansible hosts, we can see the host file available there. By default, Ansible takes this file because if you just read the configuration file, as I told you earlier, ansible.cfg, you can see the inventory is this marked, but I don't want to edit that file in the configuration file to make sure that, to tell Ansible that okay, this is not my host file, the other host file is available. if some application team or the testing team asks me, I want to rewrite my host file, I don't want to use the Ansible provided host file. So what we can do is like we can override using our own host file. So what we can do is I'm gonna type hosts, and I'm gonna type my my host. I'm just gonna give node 3 IP inside it. So paste it. So I have just created a file called host, but still Ansible will take the original etc Ansible host file because it is put up in a configuration file. If I want to use my host file, I will let you know in few seconds. Before that, let me just test the configuration connectivity from Ansible to all the other nodes. How do we test it? So you can use a simple command Ansible. Before that, let's check whether I have all the hosts available. Ansible all hyphen hyphen list hyphen hosts. Yes, I can see the hosts available, and we can grep the host Apache Web and Apache server. I need to check whether I can able to connect to Apache Web group and Apache server app server group. How do you connect that? You can use a command called Ansible Apache Web hyphen m ping. So what does this command do? It is using the module called ping, and it is connecting to the group called Apache Web, and it is going to test the ping between these two machines, this one and this one, the node machine. So I'm going to just enter ping. The moment I enter that, I can see that it is connecting to two machines, which is ping and which is pong. That means it is responding, it's showing success. If one of the machine is not responding, it's going to show false. So how do I do that? So I'm just gonna shut down this SSH service in the node 2. Remember, this one is 157 IP, 172.31 to 157. So this is 157 IP. So I'm going to shut this service down. So I'm going to do system ctl service sshd stop. Oops. Okay, I'm system ctl sshd sorry, stop sshd. This is the command. It's gonna ask EC2 ID password authenticators cloud user EC2 to manage systems unit service or units. I'm going to switch to root and stop the service. So I'm going to use sudo systemctl stop sshd. I have stopped it. You can just see the command sudo uh, service sshd status. I can see the SSHD is inactive. So the moment I use Ansible Apache Web hyphen ping to check, it is showing red. That means the SSHD has been stopped and it's not able to connect to that machine. It is showing green for the other machine because the other machine is running fine. I'm gonna make sure SSHD is started back again. I started the SSHD, just check the service of the SSHD. It is showing active running, and just run the command again. See the way Ansible communicates to each of the other nodes inside the group, and to make sure that everything is running good. And remember that it is going to use the host file in etc Ansible hosts. But if I want to use my host file, which is mentioned here, so just mentioned host file here, I have a 151 server, which is a node 3 here. So I want to see whether I can able to connect to that. But the moment I use Ansible Apache Web, or maybe like I need to use my host here. See, if I use my host, Ansible my host hyphen mping, it won't connect because it's still connecting to etc Ansible host. It's still connecting to this file, and this file does not have my host. If I want to use my own Ansible inventory file, so what I can do is I can use hyphen I option. So that is called overriding of host file. So as I discussed earlier, this is what is called overriding of the host file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use hyphen I at my host ping. Okay. um, I'm going to use my host hyphen I hosts hyphen mping. So now it's going to connect. So fail to connect to trust via SSH. So it has some problem to connect to this machine. So let's see whether SSH service is running or not. It's running already. So why is it connecting? So let's check out why the hell it's not connecting. Sorry. Oh, so we need to make sure it's connecting appropriately to that particular machine using the overriding the host file. Hmm. So this one, my host, I'm going to give IP instead of my host to check whether I can able to connect to that machine. I'm going to use the IP of this machine. True, why unreachable, true. So but if you see etc ansible hosts 151, if I just try to connect app server, let me see it's connecting or not. Ansible hyphen m, no, Ansible app server, Ansible app server hyphen m ping. Let me see whether it's connecting or not. It's not connecting, so that means SSH is not happening properly. SSH is not happening properly for node 3. It's asking for the password. That is the reason. I think the SSH connectivity is not done properly for this machine. So I can just use SSH hyphen copy hyphen ID to this machine to see whether it's happening properly or not. Yes, so let's see whether it should work now. Um, yeah, it's asking for password. So what I can do is SSH hyphen copy hyphen ID. Um, so it's not asking password now. So now I should able to use the command ping. It's showing. So this is the reason earlier lecture I told you all that it should be having a passwordless SSH authentication perfectly fixed. So there was a minor problem. So I fixed this just now. We can see that it's able to connect to host file. Okay, I was just explaining about the overriding the host file. So if I'm using Ansible all hyphen m ping, it is gonna take the main host file, that is etc ansible hosts. It's going to take the main host file, that's etc ansible host, and in order to fix this we need to have ssh copy hyphen id local host. Let's see. So one machine is, yeah, now we can see it's fixed. The same thing should work if you are able to configure the host file here and inventory file here. So this is a client machine, node machine. If I want to convert that node machine as a master machine, what I do is like, before that I need to show how to override the host file, isn't it? So if I just type this command, it's actually taking from the main configuration file, from the main etc ansible host configuration file. If I want to use this host file, so how do I use that? So I can just use ansible my host hyphen I hosts hyphen m ping. It should able to work. Yes, it is working now, because now it is not able to connect to etc ansible host. We are already overrid that file and we are able to connect to this particular machine using hyphen I option. So there are two cases. You can use the default ansible file for verification or for your purposes, or you can create your own host file and try this services setup available. If the node wants to be converted as a master file, what we can do is just edit etc ansible hosts. Just delete everything because we already have a backup in some other machine. So we want to put insert, but before that let's grab the details etc ansible hosts. Grab this completely and put it here. This can be converted into a master now. SSH copy id localhost in order to avoid errors. Okay, so ansible all hyphen m module ping. It is gonna try connecting to all the other servers including master, node 2, node 3, and we need to make sure that it's connecting appropriately. Yeah, we just it is gonna ask for the first time whether authentication is happening properly or not. The next time it's gonna do it properly. So let it run. It takes some time. So so it's like, so since we are running it on a local host, we need to remove this IP because we are already given localhost and we are already given its own server's IP address. We need to remove this IP in the host file. So same thing applies here. We have not added 156 here in this host file because we already added localhost. So for this we need to remove this one, and 151 we need to check the connectivity issues because um, this machine was not set up proper. It's a newly added machine. So what we need to do is hosts, sorry, vi etc ansible to ansible. This ansible checks whether SSH is happening properly or not as well. So 158 will be removed and 156 will be added, and yeah, the once is added. Okay, we need to make sure that it is editable, so we were not logged in as sudo, so sudo vi etc ansible hosts, paste it and save it. So we need to check whether this machine is connecting via password. Oops. Yeah, it's asking for password. That shows the error. So SSH copy ID, give the IP. That's it. So I think it's also one function as SSH copy ID. Okay, so this one already been added. SSH copy ID. So I think I already logged into that machine now. So this machine test whether I can able to log in. Yes, it should not log in with password. Okay, SSH copy ID. Yeah, it's working now. If you just run the ansible all hyphen m ping, it should connect to 51151. So let's clear this. Let's clear this. Let's see. Yeah, it's working fine. So this way we can test the functionality of ping and pong from each machines using ansible technology. So what else? So this is a host file. If you want to override the host file, you need to use -i option and create one host file. I will show another example of overriding the host file. I have the one file called more etc ansible hosts. I don't know to use this for host file, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own host file. So vi hosts, I'm going to put 156 machine into my host file. I can group it, or I can directly put as a IP. And if I want to you check the host file ansible the IP -i hosts -m ping, it's going to check my host file which is present in my home directory, rather than it is not going to check the global host file. Let me see, it's going to take some time. Yeah, it's going to check which is present in my home directory, rather than it's not going to take the global host file present, because it's we have already overrid using -i option. So here comes to the end of the host file, and as the course progresses on, we are going to use host file for longer duration, and you'll be capable enough to use host file in your production environment very soon. And it's very easy because Ansible reads the files from top to down approach, and yeah, that's it from the host file.